morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So we've reached that time where we need to have a little bit of a chat about the most expensive cards from Fusion Strike, with Fusion Arts now being out in Japan, and Fusion Strike for us being, well, largely the same. We are going to be able to have a good old chat. It is worth noting that things like the alternate art Gengar and Inteleon are very likely to be in Fusion Strike, though not confirmed. So they're not on this list. And there could be some other cards that get popped in that we don't exactly know for the moment. So just a quick heads up that, yes, these are the most expensive cards from Fusion Arts. Yes, they will largely translate to Fusion Strike. But there is no guarantee. Also, the usual rules that these are buy prices for Japanese shops. This is what they are paying you. They will then charge, obviously, more when they sell it. That's how business works. And singles prices in Japan are not the same as over here. Traditionally, they've been a little bit cheaper, but some of these alternate arts in Japan do end up being a little more expensive. So with all of that out of the way, I think you can probably guess what the two most expensive cards are. It's Mew. This is the Mew set. Mew is the poster child for this set. So yeah, the most expensive cards are going to be Mew. We've got the Mew VMAX alternate art, which was always going to be the most expensive, right? Because we know that the pull rates on the VMAX alternate arts are the lowest, they are the hardest ones to pull, and so they're always going to be at the top of the list. Incidentally, worth noting, Mew is the only VMAX alternate art that actually comes in this set. There are no others, so even if there were, Mew would almost certainly beat them because it's Mew. But there are no other VMAX alternate arts in this particular set. So this is being offered to be bought at 50,000 yen, which is quite a lot. That comes in at £330 or 450 US dollars. This is what I meant about being more expensive. We have seen that over in the US, UK, Europe, etc., cards do not settle this high. And this is a buy price, remember, they'll sell it for more. We don't see cards this expensive at the moment. Even things like Umbreon VMAX, for argument's sake, is settling at somewhere in the region of $200. That is about what you would pay for a raw version of that card. Maybe slightly above that at the moment, but not a huge amount more. Certainly, you should expect to be picking it up for $250. You will occasionally, like I said, there are a few selling for a bit more, but around $200 is the average. Japanese alternate arts, because of the fact you get one secret rare per box and the VMAXs are so low, etc., these really are jumping up in price lately, and the Japanese version of this Mew is almost certainly going to settle a fair bit above the English version of the Mew. As a side note, I saw somebody trying to price a Rayquaza alternate art using Evolving Skies prices, but it was the Japanese version of it. And the Japanese version of that Rayquaza is actually worth a lot more than the English language version of that Rayquaza. You have been warned. So Mew was always going to be Mew, right? Mew was always going to be the big one here. But the second biggest one is also Mew. The Mew V alternate art. Now this is not the only alternate art V, but like I've said, even when put next to the other two, it is actually by a pretty wide margin, actually by a very wide margin, the biggest. It is worth 3 times one of the other Vs and about 8 times the other one. It is Mew by an absolute landslide. So this is coming in at 15,000 yen, which you're talking about £100 or $135. So nowhere near as expensive, not even on the same level, but still a card which is worth, a couple of booster boxes. An extremely cool card indeed, and one that you should absolutely be looking to pull from Fusion Strike. It's going to settle quite a bit below the VMAX, and the reason is very simply, it's twofold. Firstly, the pull rates on the Vs is significantly higher than the pull rates on the VMAXs, and secondly, VMAXs are cooler than Vs, and people just want them a little bit more. Now, after that, we're not talking VMAXs, we're not even talking Pokemon Vs, we're talking about the Elisa Full Art card. And again, this shouldn't really surprise anyone. Full art cards of the female characters in the game are very sought after nowadays. And you can make your own decisions on that. I'm not here to go into that. I am here to tell you that the trend is that the full arts of female characters, by which I mean recognizable female characters, have been exploding in popularity and price lately. Elisa's Radiance, the full art version, comes in at 11,000 yen. And if we convert that into currencies that most of you guys use, we're talking about £72 or about $100. Which is a fair amount of money, I think it's fair to say. Now, I did mention this when we looked at these the other day. I actually do think the artwork on this is absolutely flat out proper job, over the top stunning. So this is one that I really want to be pulling from Fusion Strike. I enjoyed facing Elisa in Black and White 2, except that stupid Emolga. But I will be honest with you, this one, if you're looking to get this, you are going to have to pay a few quid for it. Now, I did say recognizable female characters, because it's pretty interesting to note here that we could look at, say, Dancer, and Dancer is a full art of a female character, but you've just got a generic trainer class here. We've not actually got a proper named character from the set, so we go down to 1,000 yen, which is like £6.60 or $9. It's really not the same. Now, after Elisa, there is a pretty huge drop, as in more than half, less than half, you know what I mean. Genesect alternate art comes in at $5,000. Now, I have told you that Genesect is a phenomenal card. The ability lets you draw until you've got as many cards in hand as you do fusion Pokemon in play. So if you've got a full bench, which you should, and you're only playing fusion Pokemon, which you should be, that's drawing until you've got 6 cards in your hand, except it's not limited to once per turn, so you can do it up to 4 times per turn. Incidentally, why is Genesect breakdancing? I don't know, he just is. But I can tell you that Smeargle is there, because Smeargle's a fusion Pokemon, and Pokemon of the same type or battle style tend to find their way into those alternate arts. I love this Genesect as well. And sticking at 5,000 yen, and therefore the exact same conversion, we've got the Rainbow Rare of Mew VMAX. Now, I'm not a fan of the Rainbow Rares personally. I know a few people are here and there. But Mew VMAX, it's Mew, and the Rainbow Rare is a very rare version of Mew, so you've got a rare version of Mew. It's a pretty playable card, but you could get the regular VMAX. It's not that impressive. But I will tell you that actually, yeah, the fact that it's a Rainbow Rare and therefore a rare version of a Mew card, that is going to push it up. Speaking of which, the full art of regular Mew comes in at 4,000 yen, which is a pretty hefty amount for a full art. It's more than double what any of the other full art Pokemon come in with. Not exactly double, but you know what I mean. Double the next highest. And 4,000 yen, you're talking about £26 or $36. And the explanation here is exactly the same. It's Mew and people love Mew. I do think this is one of the cooler full arts we've seen. It is fantastic. But it's Mew. Mew is a fantastically popular Pokemon. We do tend to see that in the sets, Pokemon do try and tend to give us a cover Pokemon that is a particularly popular Pokemon. Mew is a particularly popular Pokemon, so you'll see, all the Mew cards are here. I mean, we could even mention just the regular version of Mew VMAX, which comes in at 1,200 yen. Now, 1,200 yen is not the same as what we've been talking about. It's £8 or $11, but that's still a decent amount of money. And as we're going to see in a minute, the alternate art of Greedent comes in at 2,000. So when you compare it to that, that's a decent amount of VMAX. Now, the other one that comes in at 4,000 yen with the same conversion is your Gold Energy, either Gold Grass or Gold Fire. And I have really mixed opinions about these. Because on the one hand, right, pulling these Gold Energy cards is not particularly exciting. You don't really want to be pulling the Gold Energy compared to the alternate arts. But actually, it's Gold Energy. And it's beautiful, and it's basic energy, and unless you're fairy energy, basic energy will always be legal. So actually, as weird as it is, yeah, these end up being pretty valuable and pretty sought after, because people like to bling out their decks and gold energy at the end of the day is still gold energy. Moving on down the list, we are getting into some very reasonable numbers here. We've got Flaaffy coming in at 3,000 yen, the gold version thereof. And that's really not all that much. You're talking £20 or $27 for a gold version of a playable card. The thing is, at the moment, Flaaffy ain't setting the world on fire. I was expecting Flaaffy to be like this super playable card, and as it stands at the moment, it just hasn't been. It's got Dynamotor, it's cool, but the format at the moment, with lots of bench hitting and little bench protection, is not good for old Flaaffy. So, all I'm going to tell you is, if Flaaffy does end up being really good in the future, the price of this gold version is going to be so much higher than it actually is at the moment. So, I don't know. Something to bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Something to bear in mind. And then we can finish off with a bunch of 2,000 yen cards. So, the green and alternate art comes in at 2,000 yen, and I'm a little bit stunned by this because I think this is one of the most beautiful cards in the set. It's better than any of the other alternate arts, and it's coming in at £13 or $18. That's absurdly cheap for such a wonderful, beautiful card. I still think Green and VMAX is a really cool card that's going to be lots of fun. Not everybody agrees with me, and that is absolutely fine. I have faith it's very much a wait and see scenario, but again, if the Green and VMAX does turn out to be a really good card, then this much money for the full art, the alternate art of the V, really is going to be just... It's gonna look pretty bargainous. We've also got 2,000 yen coming in here for the full art of Genesect. Again, like I say, so Genesect's a really good playable card, so the full art version of it is always going to be pretty sought after. And again, the full art here does look kind of beautiful. And then Power Tablet, the gold version, also comes in at 2,000 yen. That's the one that lets your Fusion Strike Pokemon do an extra 30 damage. Random gold item cards do not get this high generally. So if it's up here, it means that the Japanese player base, shops, whatever, do seem to think this is going to be a playable card. So that is something you should absolutely keep your eyes on for the future. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. There are not going to be anywhere near as many secret rares in Fusion Strike as there have been in the past few sets. So it is largely going to be the ones we've talked about here, plus maybe a couple of others. So these are the ones you're going to be looking to pull. Like I say, don't take the actual figures as gospel. Use it more as a comparison. Mew VMAX is going to be the big card in the set, and the other ones I've mentioned here are going to be proportionately sought after as well, but look at them as a comparison and a list of cards which you're going to want to pull. Don't look at it as this is a really strict price guide, because it's not a really strict price guide. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these you like. Tell me which of these you want to be pulling. Tell me which of these you're going to be buying singles of if you don't pull them. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.